Hello, this is Joe Vexter, reporter, and I'm here to tell you a story from Personal Finance by Liz Newven, August 7th, 2021. This is 3 easy expenses to cut in retirement to stretch your savings, according to people who retired comfortably. And this is the goals of this. They show a picture of a guy in a kitchen. Food is a big expense. Cutting back on dining out and expensive groceries can stretch your budgeting. As I've mentioned this year, I will be discussing a little bit about finance. The importance of it. To stretch your retirement savings, cut back on some of your less necessary spending. I need to learn some of this because I'm trying to cut back, but spend. And I don't have much to spend, so there you go. One retiree said, after I get this article back, one retiree had said reducing his biggest expenses, transportation, housing, and food helped most. Cutting back on dining out and shopping can also curb your spending. Use Bloom to analyze your 401k today and see how you can grow your retirement savings. Okay. I guess that's a plug for Bloom, but I don't know. I use Stash. I guess either or it's okay. And I try to invest with the little money that I have. If you're thinking about retiring soon, you might need to cut back your expenses, especially with all that's been going on. Inflation too. For the most part, retirement is time of living in your means, cutting back frivolously expenses and living modestly. If you're wondering where to start, 3 retirees give their advice for anyone wanting to cut their spending. Number 1. Downsize big expenses like housing and transportation. While it might not be the simplest thing to cut, especially living where I am, cutting your costs on your largest expenses will help the most. Early retiree Jim White found that cutting back on his biggest 3 expenses, housing, transportation, and food, was something he wishes he did while saving. Now in retirement, he is aiming to cut back on these things to make his money stretch further. Instead of buying a large house, he says he'll aim to find a home that's the smaller and more affordable when he and his family move back to the U.S. from Panama. But some of the things he did to cut costs will be simpler. Even though one's option may not be moving to Panama and they have to live in the U.S., maybe there are other areas to live in. I do not know. But I do know this. Cutting costs right now might be a very good decision, even if you're on a fixed income, like I am, or you're earning as much as you can. Eventually, that money runs out and you have to make do with whatever you've got to make do with. He doesn't plan to buy another new car when they move back to the US and will opt for a used car he can buy affordably. When they still lived in the US, White found that he could cut his expenses by switching where he grocery shopped to a discount chain store, saving them about half on their grocery bill and leaving more to save. It sounds like a very good logical idea, and I will just say this, that you've heard the saying, keeping up with the Joneses. Now, people don't care about keeping up with the Joneses anymore. That's a myth. People are just worrying about living day to day and not spending as much money. And that's what people are trying to do. Take a look at wrestler Baron Corbin. He now wishes he was wise with his money. Dine out less frequently. Retiree Nicole Carter found that one of the biggest areas she needed to cut back was dining out. I could vouch for this. Dining out, before, back in the day, dining out used to cost about $20 to $30 for two people. Now, for two people, it costs $40 and $50. If you're going to a really expensive restaurant, it's $60 to $80. Or if you're going to a really expensive restaurant, it could cost you to $100 for a meal of food, and it's really expensive, especially going for hibachi. And I try not to do that. It's a special occasion if I save that much money. I mean, that's just half of whatever I have in my pocket, and that's not much, so we just try to stay. Retiree Nicole Carter found that one of the biggest areas she needed to cut back was dining out. Living in New York City, she found herself constantly going out to eat while saving for retirement. It's expensive, I would say. When I actually took a look at my finances and realized I had spent $2,100 on eating out, that was cool. I can relate. I had given myself a check in. From there, she learned to start curbing her eating out habit and started pay closer attention to where her money went each month. She started budgeting and giving herself spending audits to know where her money was going each month and save more. I just have something to say. With the height of the pandemic, so to speak, people have been frustrated, people have been disgruntled, people don't want to stay in the house anymore, they've been revengefully spending money out. And yes, they've been rebelling against the pandemic. And you could say it's costly to get yourself where you have the pandemic and you have the virus. And also another thing, it's costly in the fact you spend a lot. And then you gotta pay that bill at the end of the month. This is what many people are facing. Not only during the pandemic, but all the time. Another thing. Number 3, cut back on impulse purchases. And just as I mentioned during the pandemic, people have been revengefully spending money. And yes, I admit, I made that mistake with my credit card. And I've got a long time to pay it back. I'm not going to mention the expenses, but I will mention that I'm going to work to pay it back. It's pandemic spending, so to speak. Retirement shouldn't be a time of trying to keep up with the Joneses, it's just as I mentioned, and have the latest and the greatest. It should be a little more modest. Remember, life is not a race, it's a marathon. Retiree James R., who doesn't use his last name online, says this has been the case for him. American culture is frantic, and it's consumer oriented. Think twice about whether or not you really want to be that person. If you can deviate from it, it makes life in retirement a lot easier. And his experience buying less and living simply has made his retirement far more comfortable. Be frugal. Don't buy much on impulse. And don't fill your house with junk, he told Insider. This was Liz Nueven, personal finance reporter. Liz is a reporter at Business Insider, primarily covering personal finance topics. Before joining Business Insider, she wrote about financial and automotive topics as a freelancer for brands like LendingTree and Credit Karma. She earned her bachelor's degree in writing from the Savannah College of Art and Design. She lives and works in Seattle. Find her on Twitter at Liv Nueven. It's the article. On my final note, I say we're all not perfect. You'll make mistakes. I've made my mistakes, but the importance is learning from your mistakes. So, check out Money Learning the Basics. series. You have 4 books, short books, nonetheless, written by Joseph Vivaldi, narrated by Ken Aiken. And they are on budgeting, on saving, even on tips about how you could go broke if you don't want to, and retirement. He's not in retirement yet, but he's just learned some things and try to add a little for the book. Joseph Vivaldi might not even be professional, and like, everyone made mistakes, but he wants everyone to learn from his mistakes, and he learned from experience some tips that he did before in the past, and those books will help you. If you should choose, but he's not a professional, but he can help. You can see a golden nugget in the book and it'll help. About money, budgeting, retirement, and also going broke. Also, since this is on saving money, I would say stash. Stash is in. Well, those links with the book will be, or the audiobook will be below. Also, stash. You could get $20 of investment just by choosing stash with clicking the link below. I don't know if you're an investor, if you are or not, if you're getting into it, if you're trying to switch from something else. Stash might be for you. You can invest as little as $5 in whatever stock you may want, and if your stock isn't there, you could bring it up and suggest. But yeah, this one is for you. I mean, I would just bring it up. Maybe you might not be the best, I don't want to say, I don't know where I'm going with that, but maybe, you with your stocks, you could pick your favorites, like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, Apple, Amazon, or many, many others, bonds, gold, you name it, you could buy it there on Stash. So with $20, you could possibly get, and investing in $5 at a time, if more stocks for you, or that Stash is for you, and that's, click the description below and read whatever you gotta read if you want to sign up or not. If you're interested in Joseph Vivaldi Network, we're on Patreon and even on Spreaker too. Spreaker.com/user/Joseph Vivaldi, or the Joseph Vivaldi Network at the end of Patreon.com. Those links are below. So I'm gonna cut this podcast short. Have a very nice day, and I will catch you on the flip side, and check out some of the podcasts on Spreaker, or some of them that will be aired on Patreon. Please support us. They come out earlier on Patreon than on Spreaker. Take care.